First contact and brewing conflict. The year was 2157, and humanity had just taken its first tentative steps into the galactic community. After centuries of dreaming about alien life, Earth's first interstellar expedition, led by the starship Prometheus, made contact with an advanced alien civilization known as the Orcs Confederacy. Captain Elena Rodriguez stood on the bridge of the Prometheus, her heart racing as the alien vessel approached. The ship was unlike anything humans had ever seen, a sleek, silvery craft that seemed to bend the very light around it. "Open a channel," Elena ordered, her voice steady despite her nerves. The view screen flickered to life, revealing a tall, slender alien with iridescent skin and large, multifaceted eyes. The alien spoke, its words translated by the ship's advanced "Greetings, humans of Earth. I am Ambassador Zixel of the Orcs Confederacy. We welcome you to the galactic stage." Over the next few months, humanity learned about the complex web of interstellar politics that made up the galactic community. The Orcs were helpful mentors, guiding Earth through its first steps into a much larger universe. They shared technology, cultural insights, and warnings about potential dangers lurking in the cosmic depths. One such danger was a species known as the Gre'l. The Gre'l are expansionists, Ambassador Zixel explained during a briefing with Earth's leaders. They believe in their inherent superiority and seek to dominate or subjugate other species. Many worlds have fallen to their aggression. Dr. Marcus Chen, Earth's leading xenobiologist, leaned forward. "What makes them so dangerous?" Zixel's multifaceted eyes seemed to darken. The Gre'l possess powerful psychic abilities. They can influence minds, control lesser species, and even predict future events to a limited degree. This, combined with their advanced technology and ruthless tactics, makes them a formidable enemy. The human leaders exchanged worried glances. Humanity was still new to interstellar travel, and the thought of facing such a powerful adversary was daunting. "But surely," Elena interjected, "with the support of the Orcs Confederacy and other peaceful species, we can defend ourselves." Zixel's expression was difficult to read, but his voice carried a note of hesitation. "We will offer what support we can, but understand that open conflict with the Gre'l is discouraged. The galactic community prefers to contain their expansion through diplomatic means." As the meeting concluded, Elena couldn't shake the feeling that there was more to the story than the Orcs were letting on. She shared her concerns with Dr. Chen as they left the conference room. "Something doesn't add up," she muttered. "Why would such a powerful species be content with mere containment? And why does the rest of the galaxy seem so afraid to confront them directly?" Chen nodded thoughtfully. "I agree. We need more information. Perhaps it's time we did some investigating of our own." Over the next few weeks, Elena and Chen discreetly gathered data from various sources, other alien diplomats, intercepted communications, and deep space probes. What they discovered was disturbing. The Gre'l weren't just expansionists. They were parasites. Their psychic abilities allowed them to slowly take control of entire populations, turning them into willing slaves. Worse, they seemed to be on a collision course with human-controlled space. Elena presented their findings to the United Earth Council, the governing body responsible for humanity's interstellar affairs. "The Orcs and the other species aren't containing the Gre'l," she explained, her voice grim. "They're appeasing them, sacrificing outer colonies and weaker species to keep the Gre'l satisfied. It's only a matter of time before they turn their attention to us." The council chamber erupted into chaos. Some called for immediate military buildup, others for evacuation of the outer colonies. A few even suggested surrendering to the Gre'l before conflict could begin. Amidst the uproar, Dr. Chen stood up. "We have an advantage," he said, his quiet voice somehow cutting through the noise. "The Gre'l don't know much about us. They've never encountered humans before. We're an unknown quantity." Elena caught on to his train of thought. "And their psychic abilities might not work the same way on human minds. We could use that." The council fell silent, considering the possibilities. Finally, Council President Yuki Tanaka spoke. "Captain Rodriguez, Dr. Chen, I'm putting you in charge of a special task force. Your mission is to prepare humanity for the coming conflict with the Gre'l. We'll need new technologies, strategies, and defenses." "And what about the Orcs?" someone asked. "Do we tell them what we know?" Tanaka's expression hardened. "For now, we keep this to ourselves. The Orcs and the others have made their choice. Humanity will have to stand on its own." As the meeting adjourned, Alina and Chen shared a determined look. The task ahead was daunting, but they were ready to face it. Humanity had survived ice ages, plagues, and its own destructive tendencies. They would find a way to survive the Gre'l too. Over the next year, Earth's best and brightest worked tirelessly to prepare for the coming storm. New ships were built, incorporating both human ingenuity and adapted alien technology. Special training programs were developed to help humans resist psychic influence. Deep space monitoring stations were established to provide early warning of Gre'l incursions. But despite their best efforts, the first encounter with the Gre'l came sooner than anyone expected. It was a routine patrol in a newly established colony system. Lieutenant Sarah Kovacs was at the helm of the UES Defiant, a state-of-the-art destroyer, when the sensors lit up. "Captain," she called out. "Unknown vessel approaching at high speed. It doesn't match any known configurations." Captain Darius Lee was at her side in an instant. "Send out the first contact package. And get me a visual." The image that appeared on the view screen sent a chill down Sarah's spine. The ship was organic-looking, all curves and strange protrusions. It pulsed with an eerie, otherworldly energy. "It's them," Darius whispered. "The Gre'l." Before they could react, a wave of psychic energy washed over the bridge. Sarah felt a presence pushing at the edges of her mind, trying to worm its way in. Her training kicked in, and she began the mental exercises designed to resist such intrusions. Around her, she saw some of her crewmates falter, their eyes going blank as the Gre'l influence took hold. But others, like the captain, stood firm. "Kovacs," Darius shouted, "get us out of here. We need to warn Earth." Sarah's hands flew over the controls, plotting a course back to the nearest jump point. As the Defiant turned to flee, the Gre'l ship opened fire. Strange, organic-looking projectiles slammed into their shields, each impact sending another wave of psychic energy through the ship. "Shields at 60%, the tactical officer reported, his voice strained as he fought off the mental assault. "Return fire," Darius ordered. "And somebody get me Earth Command." The Defiant's guns roared to life, sending pulses of superheated plasma towards the Gre'l ship. To their surprise, the shots found their mark, tearing into the organic hull. A piercing shriek filled their minds, the psychic death cry of wounded Gre'l. The assault on their minds redoubled, but now there was a note of desperation in it. "They didn't expect us to be able to hurt them," Sarah realized aloud. Darius grinned fiercely. "Then let's show them what else we can do. All batteries, fire at will." The space between the two ships lit up with weapons fire. The Gre'l vessel was more advanced, but the Defiant's crew fought with a determination born of desperation. They knew that the fate of humanity might well rest on their ability to survive this encounter and bring warning back to Earth. Minutes stretched into what felt like hours as the battle raged on. The Defiant's shields were failing, its hull breached in multiple sections. But the Gre'l ship was in even worse shape, its organic structure torn and bleeding some strange, luminescent fluid into space. With a final massive blast from its main gun, the Defiant struck a critical blow. The Gre'l ship shuddered, then began to break apart. As the enemy vessel died, the psychic assault on their minds ceased. The sudden silence was almost as shocking as the attack had been. "Get us out of here," Darius ordered, his voice hoarse. "Maximum speed to the jump point. We need to report this to Earth immediately." As the Defiant limped away from the battlefield, Sarah allowed herself a moment of relief. They had survived their first encounter with the Gre'l. But she knew this was only the beginning. The Gre'l now knew about humanity, and humanity had just proven itself to be a threat. The true war was about to begin. The Gre'l strike first. The news of the UES Defiance encounter with the Gre'l spread like wildfire through Earth's colonies. Humanity had faced its first true interstellar threat and emerged victorious, albeit barely. But the celebration was short-lived. Within days, reports began flooding in from the outer colonies. The Gre'l were coming, and in force. Admiral Yara Mbeki stood before the United Earth Council, her face grim as she delivered her report. The Gre'l have launched simultaneous attacks on 3 of our outer colony systems, Epsilon Eridani, Ta Ceti, and Ross 128. Our forces are outnumbered and outgunned. We're evacuating civilians as fast as we can. But, she paused, swallowing hard. We're going to lose those systems. The council chamber erupted into chaos. Accusations flew. Why weren't we better prepared? How could we let this happen? In the midst of the uproar, Dr. Marcus Chen stood up, his quiet voice somehow cutting through the noise. We knew this was coming, he said. Now we need to focus on how we're going to fight back. Admiral Mbeki nodded gratefully at Chen before continuing. We've analyzed the data from the Defiance encounter. The Gre'l ships are powerful, but not invincible. Their reliance on organic technology makes them vulnerable to certain types of attacks, and their psychic abilities, while formidable, can be resisted with proper training. What do you propose, Admiral? Asked President Tanaka. Mbeki's eyes blazed with determination. We fight. We use every trick, every advantage we have. Humanity has always been at its best with its back against the wall. It's time to show the galaxy what we're made of. As the council debated strategy, the situation in the outer colonies grew dire. On Epsilon Eridani, Colonel Aisha Khoury led the desperate defense of New Jakarta, the planet's capital city. The sky was filled with Gre'l ships, organic monstrosities that pulsed with otherworldly energy. On the ground, Gre'l warriors, tall, insectoid creatures with multiple limbs and chitinous armor, advanced relentlessly. Each time they came into view, a wave of psychic energy would wash over the human defenders, threatening to overwhelm their minds. But humanity had not been idle in the years since first contact. The defenders wore psi-shielding helmets, developed by Dr. Chen's team, which helped block the worst of the psychic assaults. And their weapons, hastily modified based on data from the Defiance encounter, proved effective against the Gre'l's organic technology. Colonel Khoury stood atop the city's main defensive wall, shouting orders and encouragement to her troops. A Gre'l warrior leaped over the barricade, its mandibles clicking in anticipation. Khoury didn't hesitate. She raised her pulse rifle and fired, the superheated plasma round carrying through the creature's carapace. As the Gre'l fell, Khoury felt a surge of fierce pride. Yes, they were outgunned and outnumbered. Yes, they might lose this battle, maybe even this war. But by God, they would make the Gre'l pay for every inch of human territory. Back on Earth, the best minds of humanity worked feverishly to find ways to counter the Gre'l threat. Dr. Chen led a team studying captured Gre'l technology, hoping to find weaknesses they could exploit. Captain Elena Rodriguez, now promoted to Commodore, oversaw the rapid production and deployment of new ships and weapons. In a secret facility deep beneath the lunar surface, a joint military scientific team worked on Project Prometheus, an attempt to reverse engineer and adapt Gre'l psychic technology for human use. The ethical debates were fierce, but with the survival of the species at stake, even the most staunch opponents reluctantly agreed to proceed. Months passed. The outer colonies fell one by one, each defeat providing valuable data that Earth used to refine its defenses and strategies. The Gre'l advance seemed unstoppable, but it was also slowing. Every victory cost them dearly in ships and warriors that they struggled to replace. Then came the Battle of Proxima Centauri, humanity's closest stellar neighbor, and the linchpin of Earth's inner defense perimeter. If Proxima fell, Earth would be directly exposed to Gre'l attack. Commodore Rodriguez stood on the bridge of the UES Invictus, the most advanced warship humanity had ever produced. Around her, a fleet of over 1,000 ships prepared for battle. It was the largest concentration of human military might in history. "All ships, report in," she ordered, her voice calm despite the weight of responsibility on her shoulders. As the ship captains sounded off, Alina allowed herself a moment of reflection. How far they'd come in such a short time. A year ago, humanity had been taking its first steps into the galactic community. Now they stood as the last line of defense against an enemy that threatened not just Earth, but potentially the entire galaxy. The sensors lit up. Gre'l fleet detected, her tactical officer reported. "There, God Almighty. There's thousands of them." Alina steeled herself. This was it. All ships, battle formations. Remember your training. Remember what we're fighting for. Today we show the Gre'l. We show the entire galaxy what humanity is capable of. All batteries, open fire. The space around Proxima Centauri erupted into a frenzy of weapons fire and explosions. Gre'l organic ships clashed with human steel and alloys. Beams of energy crisscrossed the void, while swarms of fighters engaged in desperate dogfights. On the Invictus's bridge, Alina coordinated the human fleet's movements. The battle seemed to stretch on forever, a chaotic dance of destruction and death. Ships on both sides fell by the dozens, then hundreds. "Commodore," her communications officer shouted, "we're picking up a transmission from Lunar Base. It's Dr. Chen. He says Project Prometheus is ready." Alina's heart raced. This could be the turning point they needed. "Patch him through." Dr. Chen's face appeared on the view screen, looking haggard but triumphant. "Commodore, we've done it. We've managed to create a device that can amplify and focus human psychic potential. It should be able to disrupt the Gre'l's psychic network, maybe even turn it against them." "That's great news, Doctor," Alina replied. "But how do we deploy it?" Chen's expression turned grim. "That's the catch. It needs to be deployed at the heart of the Gre'l fleet. Someone needs to take it right up to their command ship." Alina understood immediately. It was a suicide mission. She opened her mouth to call for volunteers, but before she could speak, her tactical officer, Lieutenant Ravi Kapoor, stood up. "I'll do it," he said simply. Alina wanted to argue, to tell him no, but she knew there was no time. Every second they delayed, more human ships were dying. She nodded, fighting back tears. "Good luck, Lieutenant. And thank you." Kapoor saluted sharply, then left the bridge. Minutes later, a small, swift ship detached from the Invictus, streaking towards the heart of the Gre'l fleet. The battle raged on. The human fleet was taking heavy losses, but they were also inflicting significant damage on the Gre'l. Both sides fought with the desperation of those who knew defeat meant extinction. Then suddenly, a blinding flash of light erupted from the center of the Gre'l fleet. For a moment, all combat seemed to pause as both humans and Gre'l tried to comprehend what had happened. In the next instant, chaos erupted among the Gre'l ships. They began firing on each other, their formations falling apart. Some ships simply went dark, drifting lifelessly in space. "He did it," Alina whispered. Then louder, "Lieutenant Kapoor did it. All ships, press the attack. Don't let up." The tide of battle turned swiftly. Without their psychic coordination, the Gre'l fleet fell into disarray. The human ships, though battered and reduced in number, fought with renewed vigor. Hours later, it was over. The remaining Gre'l ships fled, jumping to faster-than-light speeds in a desperate bid to escape. The space around Proxima Centauri was littered with the debris of both fleets, a somber monument to the cost of victory. As the adrenaline of battle faded, Alina allowed herself a moment of grief for all those lost, especially Lieutenant Kapoor. But there was also hope. They had done it. They had stopped the Gre'l advance. But Alina knew this was just the beginning. The Gre'l would be back, and humanity needed to be ready. As she began coordinating rescue and recovery efforts, her mind was already turning to the future. The Gre'l had struck first, but humanity would strike back. And when they did, the galaxy would tremble. Humanity's counterattack. The victory at Proxima Centauri marked a turning point in the war against the Gre'l. For the first time since the conflict began, humanity had hope. But hope, as Commodore Elena Rodriguez knew all too well, was not enough to win a war. In the months following the battle, humanity licked its wounds and prepared for the next phase of the conflict. The United Earth Council, emboldened by their success, voted unanimously to take the fight to the Gre'l. "We can't afford to simply defend," President Tanaka declared in a speech broadcast across human space. "For too long, we've allowed the Gre'l to dictate the terms of this war. No more. It's time for humanity to show the galaxy that we are not merely survivors. We are conquerors." The speech was met with thunderous applause from a populace hungry for revenge. But behind closed doors, military leaders like Elena knew the reality was far more complex. In a secure briefing room deep within the lunar military complex, Elena stood before a holographic display of known Gre'l territory. Admiral Mbeki and Dr. Chen flanked her, their faces grim. "The good news is that the Gre'l are in disarray," Elena began. "The destruction of their psychic network at Proxima Centauri has left them fragmented and disorganized. But make no mistake, they're still incredibly dangerous." Dr. Chen nodded in agreement. "We've made significant strides in understanding and countering their psychic abilities, but we're far from mastering them. And their organic technology still outclasses ours in many areas. So what's the plan?" Admiral Mbeki asked, her eyes fixed on the star map. Elena manipulated the hologram, highlighting several star systems. "We strike here, here, and here. Fast, hard raids designed to disrupt their supply lines and prevent them from rebuilding their psychic network. Meanwhile, we push for technological breakthroughs that can give us a decisive advantage." As the leaders of humanity's war effort debated strategy, preparations for the counteroffensive were already underway. Shipyards across the solar system worked around the clock, churning out new vessels equipped with the latest weapons and defenses. Training centers on Earth and Mars pushed recruits to their limits, preparing them for the brutal reality of interstellar warfare. One of these recruits was Jack Harper, a young man from the recovering colony of Epsilon Eridani. He had lost his entire family to the Gre'l invasion and had volunteered for the most dangerous assignment available, the newly formed PsyOps division. Jack stood in a sterile white room, his head pounding as he struggled to manipulate a series of holographic shapes with his mind. Dr. Lyra Novak, one of Dr. Chen's proteges, watched him intently. "Focus, Jack," she urged. "Don't try to force it. Let the energy flow through you." Jack gritted his teeth, sweat beading on his forehead. Slowly, painfully, the shapes began to move. It wasn't much. A slight rotation, a small shift in position. But it was progress. Dr. Novak smiled. "Excellent work, Jack. You're one of our most promising subjects." As Jack caught his breath, he couldn't help but ask the question that had been burning in his mind. "Doc, be straight with me. Do we really have a chance against the Gre'l? I mean, they've been using these abilities for who knows how long, and we're just scratching the surface." Lyra's expression softened. "Jack, let me tell you something about humanity. We may be newcomers to the galactic stage, but we have something the Gre'l don't: adaptability. In just a few short years, we've made advancements that took other species centuries. The Gre'l rely on their psychic abilities as a crutch. We're learning to use them as just another tool in our arsenal." Her words filled Jack with a sense of purpose. He nodded, straightened his back, and turned back to the holographic shades. "Let's go again." As humanity prepared, the Gre'l were not idle. Despite their setbacks, they remained a formidable enemy. Reports trickled in from deep space probes and daring scout ships. The Gre'l were regrouping, adapting their tactics to account for humanity's new capabilities. The first major clash of the human counteroffensive came in the Beta Hydra system. A Gre'l supply base had been identified there, one critical to their efforts to rebuild their psychic network. Commodore Rodriguez, now Admiral Rodriguez, led the assault personally from the bridge of the UEA's Invictus. The ship had been refitted with experimental weapons based on captured Gre'l technology, organic hybrid missiles that could bypass traditional defenses, and psychic amplifiers that could project a shield of pure willpower. As the human fleet dropped out of faster-than-light travel, Alina felt a familiar mix of anticipation and dread. "All ships, battle formations," she ordered. "Remember, our primary target is their central hub. Take it out, and this entire sector of their psychic network collapses." The battle was fierce from the start. The Gre'l, caught off guard by the sudden human assault, scrambled to mount a defense. But unlike in previous engagements, it was the humans who held the initiative. Alina watched with grim satisfaction as the organic hybrid missiles tore through Gre'l ships, their hulls unable to adapt quickly enough to this new threat. Meanwhile, PsyOps teams on smaller, faster ships darted through the battlefield, their combined psychic efforts disrupting Gre'l communications and coordination. Among these teams was Jack Harper, now a full-fledged PsyOps operative. His small craft wove through the chaos of battle, approaching a massive Gre'l ship that pulsed with psychic energy. "That's their local network hub," Jack's commander informed the team. "Take it out, and we cripple their entire fleet." Jack closed his eyes, reaching out with his mind. He could feel the alien presence of the Gre'l psychic network, a vast, interconnected web of thought and emotion. For a moment, he was overwhelmed by its complexity and power. But then he remembered his training, remembered why he was fighting. Jack pushed, not with force, but with precision. He found the weak points in the psychic construct, the places where individual minds connected to the greater whole. And then, with a mental twist that felt like turning a key, he broke the connections. The effect was immediate and dramatic. The massive Gre'l ship shuddered, its organic hull rippling as though in pain. All around it, smaller Gre'l vessels began to drift aimlessly, their crews suddenly cut off from the guiding intelligence of the network. "Holy shit," Jack's commander breathed. "You did it, kid." Back on the Invictus, Alina watched in awe as the Gre'l fleet fell into disarray. "All ships, press the attack," she ordered. "Don't let up." The Battle of Beta Hydra ended in a decisive human victory. The Gre'l supply base was destroyed, along with a significant portion of their fleet. More importantly, an entire sector of their psychic network had been shattered, leaving a huge swath of Gre'l territory vulnerable. As the human fleet regrouped and began rescue operations, Alina allowed herself a moment of quiet celebration. They had done it. They had taken the fight to the Gre'l and won. But Alina knew this was just the beginning. The Gre'l would adapt, would find new ways to fight back. The war was far from over. As she looked out at the debris-strewn battlefield, Alina made a silent vow. Humanity would not stop at merely defeating the Gre'l. They would push them back, system by system, until the threat was eliminated once and for all. The counterattack had begun, and humanity, with all its determination, adaptability, and newfound power, was ready to take on the galaxy. The turning point. The war against the Gre'l had entered its third year. Humanity's counteroffensive, while successful in many engagements, had begun to slow. The Gre'l, demonstrating an adaptability that surprised many human military strategists, had begun to evolve new defenses against human psychic attacks. The conflict had settled into a grueling war of attrition, with both sides suffering heavy losses. In a secure war room deep beneath the Martian surface, Admiral Alina Rodriguez stood before the collected leadership of Earth's military and scientific community. The holographic display before her showed the current state of the conflict, a patchwork of red and blue territories stretching across dozens of star systems. "We're at a stalemate," Alina admitted, her voice heavy with the weight of command. "Our advances have slowed, and the Gre'l are beginning to push back in several sectors. If we don't find a way to break this deadlock soon, we risk losing everything we've fought so hard to gain. Dr. Marcus Chen, his hair now streaked with gray from years of stress and sleepless nights, stepped forward. "We may have a solution," he said, his voice carrying a mix of excitement and trepidation. "But it's risky, potentially catastrophic if it goes wrong." All eyes turned to Chen as he manipulated the holographic display. A new image appeared, a strange, swirling vortex of energy. "We've discovered something in our studies of Gre'l psychic technology," Chen explained, "a way to tap into the underlying fabric of space-time itself. We believe we can create a device that can generate artificial wormholes." The room erupted into murmurs of shock and disbelief. Faster-than-light travel was one thing, but instantaneous transportation across vast distances. It seemed impossible. "If this works," Alina said, her mind racing with the tactical possibilities, "we could strike anywhere in Gre'l space at a moment's notice. We could end this war in a single decisive blow." Chen nodded. "Exactly. But there's a catch. The amount of energy required to generate these wormholes is enormous, and if the calculations are off by even a fraction, the results could be catastrophic. We're talking about tearing holes in the fabric of space-time. The potential for disaster is immense." The room fell silent as the implications sank in. It was President Tanaka who finally spoke. "What do you need to make this work, Dr. Chen?" Chen took a deep breath. "We need to build a massive energy collection array. And the only place with enough free space and proximity to a powerful enough star is Mercury," Elena finished for him. "You want to build it around Mercury?" Chen nodded. "It's the only way. We'll need to construct a Dyson swarm around the planet, collecting the sun's energy to power the wormhole device." The scale of the project was staggering. It would require resources and manpower on a level humanity had never before attempted. But as Elena looked around the room, she saw determination in the eyes of Earth's leaders. They all knew what was at stake. "How long?" President Tanaka asked. "If we dedicate all available resources, 6 months," Chen replied. "Maybe less if we push our people to the limit." Tanaka nodded grimly. "Do it. Whatever you need, you'll have. Admiral Rodriguez, your job is to buy us that time. Hold the line against the Gre'l at all costs." As the meeting adjourned, Elena caught up with Chen in the hallway. "Marcus," she said quietly, "be honest with me. What are the real risks here?" Chen's eyes met hers, and she saw the fear behind his professional demeanor. "If we're off in our calculations, even slightly, we could create a cascade of spatial rifts that could tear apart the entire solar system, maybe even beyond." Elena felt a chill run down her spine. The fate of not just humanity, but potentially the entire galaxy, rested on their shoulders. "Then we'd better get it right," she said firmly. The next 6 months were the most intense of the entire war. As construction began on the massive Mercury array, dubbed Project Hermes, the human fleets fought desperately to hold back the Gre'l advance. Jack Harper, now a senior officer in the Physiops division, found himself on the front lines more often than not. His abilities had grown exponentially since the early days of the war, and he had become one of humanity's most effective weapons against Gre'l psychic attacks. During a particularly fierce battle in the Ta-Ceti system, Jack's ship was crippled by Gre'l fire. As he drifted in space, waiting for rescue, he reached out with his mind, pushing the limits of his abilities. To his shock, he found he could sense the Gre'l ships at a distance far beyond what should have been possible. As he was debriefed after his rescue, Jack's report caught the attention of Dr. Lyra Novak. "This could be the breakthrough we've been looking for," she said excitedly. "If we can extend our psychic range like this, we could coordinate the wormhole attacks with unprecedented precision." Jack spent the next months working closely with Lyra and her team, pushing the boundaries of human psychic potential. The work was grueling, often leaving him with crippling migraines, but the results were undeniable. By the time Project Hermes was nearing completion, The PsyOps teams had developed the ability to sense and influence events across entire star systems. Finally, the day of reckoning arrived. The Mercury array was complete, a glittering shell of solar collectors surrounding the innermost planet. At its heart was the wormhole generator, a massive construct of exotic materials and pulsing energy fields. Admiral Rodriguez stood on the bridge of the UES Invictus, now the flagship of humanity's combined fleet. Around her, the largest armada ever assembled by human hands waited in tense silence. "This is it," she said, her voice carrying to every ship in the fleet. "Everything we fought for comes down to this moment. Dr. Chen, are you ready?" From his control center on Mercury, Chen's voice came through, tense but determined. "As ready as we'll ever be, Admiral. Wormhole generation commencing in 3, 2, 1. For a moment, nothing seemed to happen. Then, with a flash of light that outshone the sun itself, a massive portal opened in space before the fleet. Through it, they could see the Gre'l homeworld, a massive planet shrouded in swirling, psychically charged storms. "All ships, advance," Alina ordered. "PsyOps teams, you know your targets. Take out their planetary defenses." The human fleet surged forward, pouring through the wormhole. The Gre'l, caught completely by surprise, scrambled to mount a defense. But it was too late. Jack Harper, at the forefront of the PsyOps assault, reached out with his mind. He could feel the vast, alien presence of the Gre'l collective consciousness. But now, empowered by the energy of the wormhole and months of intense training, he was its equal. With a mental push that felt like moving a mountain, Jack and his fellow PsyOps specialists tore into the Gre'l psychic defenses. All across the planet, Gre'l warriors and ships fell into disarray as their precious network was shattered. The battle was fierce but shockingly brief. Within hours, the Gre'l leadership sued for surrender. Their homeworld was under human control, their fleets in disarray, their psychic network in shambles. As the dust settled, Alina looked out at the alien world now under human occupation. They had done it. They had won. But as reports of Gre'l casualties came in, billions dead in the psychic backlash alone, she felt no joy in the victory. Only a grim determination to ensure that such a war would never happen again. The Terran-Gre'l war was over, but humanity's journey as a galactic power was just beginning. And the rest of the galaxy watched with a mixture of awe and fear, wondering what this young, terrifyingly adaptable species would do next. Victory and aftermath. The fall of the Gre'l homeworld marked the end of the war, but for humanity, it was just the beginning of a new era. As the dust settled on the battlefield, the complex task of managing the aftermath began. Admiral Alina Rodriguez stood before the United Earth Council, her uniform adorned with the new insignia of Supreme Commander of Terran Forces. The chamber was packed, with representatives from every human world and colony in attendance, their faces a mix of triumph and uncertainty. "The war is over," Alina began, her voice carrying the weight of years of conflict. "The Gre'l have surrendered unconditionally. Their military has been dismantled, their psychic network dismantled. For the first time in recorded galactic history, the Gre'l threat has been neutralized." A cheer went up from the assembled leaders, but Alina raised a hand for silence. "But our victory comes with great responsibility. We now control a vast swath of former Gre'l space, inhabited by trillions of beings. Some are Gre'l, yes, but many are species that were subjugated by the Gre'l Empire. They look to us now for leadership, for protection, for justice." President Tanaka stepped forward. "We've received communiques from the Orcs Confederacy and other galactic powers. They're concerned about the sudden shift in the balance of power. Some are calling for us to withdraw from former Gre'l space entirely." Dr. Marcus Chen, now serving as the head of the newly formed Xenoscience Division, spoke up. "That would be a disaster. The power vacuum would lead to chaos, possibly even the resurgence of Gre'l dominance. We have a responsibility to manage this transition." Jack Harper, recently promoted to director of PsyOps, nodded in agreement. We've seen inside the Gre'l mind. Their society, their very biology, is built around dominance and control. If we leave, they'll simply start over, and all of this will have been for nothing. The debate raged for days. Some argued for a complete occupation of Gre'l space, others for a hands-off approach. In the end, a compromise was reached: the formation of the Terran Protectorate. Under this new system, former Gre'l worlds would be granted a degree of autonomy, but under human oversight. A massive program of education and rehabilitation was launched, aimed at helping the Gre'l and their former subjects adapt to a post-Empire reality. Human diplomats and peacekeepers were dispatched across former Gre'l space, tasked with maintaining order and facilitating the transition to self-governance. But not all humans were comfortable with their species' new role as galactic peacekeepers. Colonel Aisha Khoury, the hero of New Jakarta, now served as the military governor of a former Gre'l colony world. She struggled daily with the ethical implications of their actions. Are we any better than the Gre'l if we simply impose our will on them? She asked Elena during a secure communication. We fought this war for our freedom. Shouldn't we extend that same right to others? Elena understood her concerns all too well. We're walking a fine line, Aisha. But remember, we're not here to conquer. We're here to guide, to help these worlds transition to true independence. It won't be easy, and it won't be quick, but it's necessary. As the years passed, the galaxy watched in amazement as humanity managed the seemingly impossible task of integrating the former Gre'l Empire into a stable, peaceful confederation. There were setbacks, of course, rebellions to quell, corruption to root out, old hatreds to overcome. But slowly, surely, progress was made. Perhaps the most surprising development came in the field of psychic research. Under Jack Harper's leadership, the PsyOps division evolved into a center for galactic cooperation. Scientists and psychics from dozens of species came to Earth to study and collaborate, leading to breakthroughs that benefited all of known space. One day, 5 years after the end of the war, Jack stood before a class of students, human, Gre'l, and a dozen other species. The power we wield, he told them, is neither good nor evil. It's a tool like any other. What matters is how we choose to use it. We can use it to dominate, to control, or we can use it to understand, to connect, to heal. As he spoke, Jack demonstrated, reaching out with his mind to create a shimmering psychic construct. The students gasped as they saw a miniature galaxy floating before them, each star a point of light representing a sentient mind. This is what we're working towards, Jack said softly. A galaxy united not by force, not by fear, but by understanding. It won't be easy. It may take generations, but this is the future we're building together. Meanwhile, humanity's influence continued to grow. The wormhole technology that had won them the war was carefully controlled but not hoarded. Under strict oversight, it was shared with other peaceful species, revolutionizing galactic travel and commerce. The Orcs Confederacy and other major powers, initially wary of humanity's sudden rise, gradually came to see them as valuable allies. Human adaptability and ingenuity, combined with their commitment to justice and cooperation, made them respected mediators in galactic disputes. 10 years to the day after the fall of the Gre'l homeworld, a historic ceremony took place on Earth. Representatives from every known sentient species gathered to sign the Galactic Concordat, a new framework for interstellar cooperation and governance. As Elena watched the proceedings, now serving as Earth's ambassador to the galaxy, she felt a profound sense of pride tinged with humility. Humanity had come so far in such a short time. From newcomers on the galactic stage to one of its leading powers, all in the span of a single generation. But with that pride came a deep sense of responsibility. They had seen firsthand the consequences of power misused, of a species that chose domination over cooperation. Humanity's challenge now was to forge a different path, to use their newfound strength and influence to uplift rather than subjugate. As the ceremony concluded, Alina's gaze drifted to the night sky visible through the chamber's transparent dome. Out there, countless worlds and species waited to be discovered. New challenges, new wonders, new opportunities for both conflict and cooperation. Humanity's war against the Grail was over, but their journey as a galactic civilization was just beginning. And Alina knew that the true measure of their species would not be in the wars they won, but in the peace they managed to forge and maintain. The stars beckoned, full of infinite possibilities, and humanity, tempered by conflict but driven by an unquenchable spirit of exploration and hope, was ready to answer that call. As the new galactic era dawned, Alina allowed herself a small smile. Whatever the future held, she knew one thing for certain: it would never be boring.